Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to the Builder of Choice Insights. In today's housing market, doing what everyone else is doing is the fastest way to blend in and struggle. Private builders face rising costs, affordability pressures, and operational challenges. So how do we stand out? That's going to be our topic today. I'm joined by Dave Barnhart from First America Homes to talk about breaking the rut and building a business that thrives through differentiation. Dave is passionate about profitability, excellence, and creating homes that deliver real value, not just low prices. Dave, thanks for joining us today. I'm really excited to spend some time with you this afternoon. And let's go ahead and dive in. But before, I always like for our guests to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about your history and how you got into home building and some of the things that you're passionate about.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here today. I got into home building 20-something years ago as a stopover before law school. I thought that was going to be my path. And I thought, I'll go. Don't know anything about building homes, but I had an opportunity and I said, I'll go do this for a year or two and save up some money. And then you fast forward 20-something years. And I was very fortunate to find something that I was passionate about and have been, right? As I've moved up at every level, I've pretty much worn every hat on the home building side and just love every part and piece.
Oh, that's wonderful. My dad, Chuck, the founder of our organization, he talks about home building almost like a disease. Once you get in, it's like in your blood and you can't ever leave. There's just something very special about the home building industry. That's amazing. And I can tell. Go ahead.
Sorry, I said I still kind of nerd out and I'll still go back to communities, where you built the homes 20-something years ago and still remember some of the customers and all of those experiences. And it's fantastic. And it's such a great close-knit community with a lot of great people.
Oh, yeah. Speaking on that, my parents built some homes up in the Ken Carl Valley, which is here in Colorado, not too far from where I'm sitting today. And I took my kids and I'm like, okay, Nana and Papa built that house and they built that house and they built that house. And we lived in that house for a short period of time. And what was amazing was, I think 25 years later, I was talking to a friend and they go, oh yeah, so-and-so just moved into this one house at the top of the hill. And I'm like, no way, what's the address? And she gave me the address and I'm like, oh, that's the one we lived in. And that's the one my parents built. And it was so fun to go back and see how they remodeled it. And then when they ended up selling the house, she called me and she goes, I just want to tell you that house gave us so many amazing memories and we really appreciated our time in that house. And it comes to fruition where you realize that building homes is building lives. And so you have this opportunity. I think a lot of times we get stuck, especially during this time, where everybody is building boxes. Like, how many boxes can I build? How many boxes can I build? And how quickly can I sell them? And they focus a lot on getting discounts and just getting it out the door. And they forget the essence of what home building is. And it's building lives.
It's a lasting legacy, right? You look at the things that we create, right?
Yep. Well, that kind of leads me into our first part of this discussion. One of the things it's fun to follow you. So if anybody out there is not following Dave on LinkedIn, follow Dave on LinkedIn. He's got a tremendous amount of followers and he always has really great insights. So I have really enjoyed watching him and the posts that he shares, his original posts, and then the comments that he makes. But one of the things he's commented about is the lowest bid. Wait, you've called the lowest bid a race to the bottom. What does real value look like in a home? And how do you communicate that to a buyer who's fixated in price? And we see so many builders right now, and I call it an anchor. They're following the anchor to get to the lowest price and not focusing on exactly what they're doing. So tell me a little bit about your experience with that and how you're combating that issue.
Well, I think as builders, there's two ends to the spectrum, right? On one end, you've got builders who are, and I have some friends that fall into this category, are true craftsmen, right? And everything has to be the best of the best. And so they do that, and then they get a home that's so expensive that nobody can afford it in the end. And it's very well built and everything else. And it's so So that's one end of the spectrum. And at the other end, you've got builders, and a lot of the publics and a lot of the big, large production builders fall into this category where it's the cheapest of the cheap. And so they want the cheapest cabinets, and there's no eye or there's no weight put on, what is the longevity of these products, right? These just want them to last long enough for the warranty period to expire, and then it's the homeowner's issue at that point. And so we see a lot of that in the industry too. And for us, we look at the vendors and contractors. I mean, those are our trade partners, and so there's a balance there too on that race to the bottom about trying to grind those folks down to where they're not making any money, and it's that. So there's two opposite ends of this spectrum, and the win-win has got to be kind of somewhere in the middle. And I think for builders, especially privates, a lot of times we think to scale that we've got to go into these areas and we've got to go head up with the publics and to play their games, right? And so in doing that, it's you think about a mom and pop going and trying to compete with Walmart head up. It's like you don't have the purchasing power those folks have, and you've got to make money. They don't always even play the same game or even have to make money. So for a private, you really to scale your business, you've got to figure out what are your differentiators. And by that I mean going back to the price versus value thing I think that we'll get into a little later, but it's true. You have to think about it as, well, what arrows am I putting in the quiver of my salesperson? What can they say to that customer when they come in and they ask, why First America Homes? Why buy your home versus any other house that's 3.2 and 1,600 square feet or whatever it is?
Right.
I think our industry's gotten very commoditized in terms of our products.
Right. Well, tell me, one of the things you and I were talking about beforehand too, and this is kind of a piece that's really important as you're thinking about what homes you're building, how you're getting them out into the marketplace, the buyers that you have, how do you take profitability into consideration? Because a lot of times people think, oh, profitability is a bad word. In my position and here at Shinn, we believe that profitability is utmost important for the longevity of your organization. How do you bring that into the picture when you're talking about creating value for your buyers and making sure that you're not getting caught up in that race to the bottom?
Yeah, that's a good question, right? For us, it's you really have to know what are your core values, right? What are the things that are important to you and the things that are going to kind of help you differentiate. For us, one is customer service, and that was ingrained in me very early in my career. And it's how do we deliver a better customer experience, and how do we stand behind our home better than the rest of the guys do out there, and didn't take a lot of pride in it. And so how does that benefit the customer? Hopefully they'll see the value in it when we kind of explain who we are and how we approach service, but it's being there after the sale. So for us, we track 24/7. It's customer goes online, submits a service call, and they get a phone call within 2 hours. If it's during business hours, let them know, hey, we've got it. Somebody's on their way. Within 24 hours, we visit, regardless of the age of the home, even if it's outside the warranty period. And then we push to resolve within 7 days. I think as a company, we're just under 90% of all the service calls we received this year have been resolved within 7 days. And then within the next week, somebody from our office is reaching out, emailing and calling, and just to make sure, hey, Mr. Smith, just want to make sure you're happy, everything was taken care of. And if they're not, then we go back and we reopen the call and go back and readdress it. And so for us, it's that extra level of service. And I think for the publics, that a lot of guys, and I hate to paint them all with a broad brush, but that Wall Street doesn't really care about that, right? It's hard. It doesn't show up on the P&L. And so for them, it's once that buyer closes, then we'll get to you when we get to you, and service is always secondary. So that drives a lot of what we do, and our people know when they come in here that we take that very seriously. And so that's one of our differentiators, and it's helped us because on the sales side, it's when you take great care of your customers, you have happy customers who refer their friends and family members, and they down the road they buy their next house from you, and so it pays off, but it's hard to really quantify. It doesn't show up on the balance sheet.
It is hard to quantify, but do you feel that makes a difference where somebody could be, I'll buy from this guy, they might be a little bit less, but you guys are providing an environment where I know I feel comfortable with purchasing a home from you. I know that you're going to take care of me through the process. I know you're going to build a quality product. So some of the things that you're talking about, are they helping in getting the sales price that you need to get to be profitable as well as selling a home?
Yeah, it's a big piece of the equation, and some of that goes into training your sales staff, right? So when customers come into the model, a lot of times these days, it's builders have thrown all the deals out there, and you see, the interest rate and all these closing costs and everything else. And so when the buyer comes in, that's what we train. It's like, let's slow the process down. There's a reason why that customer is there. There's some dissatisfaction with their current living situation, something that they're not happy with that's kind of driving them to enter the market and look. And it's like, we're supposed to be the experts, right? The consultants for them. Mm-hmm. And so we need to slow the process down at that point and just ask questions and say, tell me what you don't like about your current living situation. What's one thing you would change, and take more of a consultative approach, right? And build that relationship. Because I think on some level, it's if you're able to do that, then as human beings, we want to buy from somebody that we think has our own best interest at heart, and we can better advise those customers versus just taking them out and showing them 20 houses and trying to wear them out until they finally buy one.
Oh yeah.
And so if you're able to do that, then there's value associated with it, and then you can explain, when they come in, have you heard of First America Homes? Let me tell you who we are and why we're different, and how you're going to get a different experience with us versus everyone else.
Absolutely.
So some of that, yeah, and our sales team and our construction team, they have to be walking, in lockstep, but they've got to know kind of what to say. So we invest a lot of time and effort into training.
That's an excellent point. And we're going to talk about culture here in just a little bit, but you are bleeding a message from leadership all the way through the organization, so everybody's on the same page and understands the value of what your organization is providing to a customer.
Yes. And training the salesperson to show them, to point out the differences, right? One example, we have some of our most affordable product, even on that series of homes, on our 2 stories, they all have, our 2 stories all have 2-story family room ceilings, lots of windows, 9-foot plate. And so it's a different feel than the guy next door. Mm-hmm. And so we have to train our and when you walk in, you just feel it, right? Even if you're not in the industry, you just go, wow, this feels good. But to be able to point those things out, that's where you can start getting some value, because there is additional cost for us to do that.
Right.
But we recognize that there's certain things that we can invest in when we're building a home, that if we point them out to the customer, that they will see the value in that too.
Absolutely. And it sounds like you've invested some time in getting to understand the buyer that you have coming into your company to buy homes. You obviously know these are the things that are important to them. What are some things that you would never compromise on because they're part of your brand? And it kind of goes in line with what we were talking about. So there's some things I'm sure that you're like, if somebody asked me to get rid of this, that is a game changer. There's no way we'd ever get rid of that, because that's what sets us apart.
I think there's a number of things. One is, the engineering and inspection firm that we partnered with, we have since the very beginning, is we joke sometimes that they're trying to save the world one house at a time. And it's because you look at it, and other companies will come in and say, well, I can save you a bunch of money on your engineering, your foundation, and your frame designs, and just look at that and go, man, I don't want to cut corners there, right? We're building these structures to like our conversation earlier. We're building these things to last for generations, and it's like, if we're gonna save $1, it's not going to be on that foundation, and it's not going to be in the framing. And so we, we're still stick framing our homes, and still 16-inch on center across the board. And so we invest a lot of money into the structure and making sure we do it right. And I think that's everything else is just kind of window dressing beyond that.
Yeah. Yeah. And your buyers obviously appreciate that.
Yes. Yeah. And we can take them through and show them, you don't want a negative sell against your competition, but it's very clear if you're in a community with one of the publics, especially.
Nice. Nice. Well, let's move on. So value is the foundation. That's where we create the value. A lot of times we need to be able to build a home at a price that people are willing to pay for, but also have them pay for our time, our investment, and pay for it at a fair price to where everybody is compensated for the quality product that you put out there. But affordability has been a real big issue in particularly the last 3 years, where prices rose very, very fast because of a number of reasons. COVID kind of put a little bit of a damper on things and made things a little bit more challenging. Supply chain issues, people had free money. So you had all of these pieces coming together to really mess up the economic balance of supply and demand, which increased prices tremendously. And of course, pricing isn't ever going to go down. But there's other things that come to play in that. And I know you've talked about that online, but what are some of the biggest challenges you see or the biggest pressures you see on affordability?
Well, yeah, there's a number of things. I think the market right now, everybody's wanting some kind of silver bullet and wanting the government to get involved, but it feels like the market is working back towards stability. It feels like we look at how many homes are going to be closed in the greater Houston market, for example, this year, and it's still, I think we're 9,000 or 10,000 closings above 2019, which they say was the last quote unquote normal year.
Yep.
But it seems like with all that liquidity that got dumped into the market, it pushed prices up on, like you said, on the inputs. And there's some of these people out there that are saying, oh, costs are going to have to go down. I'm just telling you that they're not right now, right? A lot of our vendors and suppliers are at a point where they're just trying to cash flow their businesses, hoping for sunnier days ahead. And so this is the best time to buy a home because their prices are only going to go up. So for us, you look at the challenges going forward, and like I said, we as an organization have made the decision that we're going to kind of swim upstream, I guess, and so we're going to raise our ASP a little bit and start including some features that you're not going to find in the other homes, and try to separate ourselves from some of the folks out there that are just trying to put the cheapest box on the ground. Mm-hmm. And part of that too is part of our land strategy. It's like, we don't want to go into projects anymore where we're going to have to compete with those folks, because we can do a great job at building the value, but an appraiser is only going to give us so much more in terms of value, and those are painful things when the customer sees the value in your product, but the appraisers do not. So it's several things from us on a strategy change, but more broader, I think you look at there's this myopic focus on PI on the equation, but not the TI in there too. So taxes and insurance have gone up significantly over the last several years, and I think that those have a big impact on people's monthly payments too. And those are things that aren't as talked about. In Texas right now, as we come into an election cycle, there's a lot of talk about significant property tax reform, and we're hoping something gets done at the state level that'll help a lot of folks. But, when values have gotten pushed up so much, the tax burden is pretty significant on a lot of folks out there. So we're hoping to address that. I don't know, on the insurance side, something is going to have to be done, but it's you look at insurance premiums, just how they continue to climb, and it hurts.
Yeah.
But I think wage growth is going to catch back up.
I think, and that's something that people don't really talk about much. And I know we invite John Burns to a lot of our builder groups to talk to us. And that's one of the biggest things is that, home prices went up significantly. Mortgage rates, I think they went up 80%, and wages only went up 25%. And so how is somebody supposed to afford a home when everything else escalated significantly at a faster rate than wages do? So it is a matter of kind of waiting for those wages to catch back up to where the prices are.
And they will. The free market will readjust, right?
Yeah.
There's other factors. People just have more debt today than they have in the past. And, we can talk about a broken university system and all the student loan debt people come out of that with, but there's a lot of factors that go in, but we do see a lot more debt on the consumer side too.
Yeah, I think they got used to spending.
Yes.
When money was free. Essentially, they're like, oh, we can do it. And then nobody tightened their belts back up and said, wait a second, we've been spending way too much, and now we need to cut back on what we're spending. And a lot of, $10 coffees at the coffee shop instead of every single day, and maybe cut that down, depending on what it is your motivation is. But there is some of that.
we do see that with a lot of customers, right? I mean, it's death by a thousand cuts, and they say they can't afford a house, and you go, well, you've got a $1,400 a month car payment, and you've got, we can change some habits, some daily habits, and cut out some subscription services and put you in a home, which is a far better investment.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And that's something that's a good point. If you're able to counsel some of, as you're going through and talking to them, hey, what are some things that you're spending your money on? If you're wanting to get in a home, here's some ideas. Here's some tips that you can take to start focusing on getting into that, home. Maybe not Starbucks every single day or any coffee shop in it every single day. Make coffee at home. Let's talk a little bit. I know you've made some references to collaboration with municipalities and other industry groups that help alleviate some of the burdens in the affordability space. What are some things that you have had that you've participated in, or some things that you think that other builders can participate in to help get some change as far as affordability is concerned?
Yeah, I've said, previously to you, that I'm a big proponent of being involved on the local level on the politics side. I mean, I think that, all of us get worked up into a frenzy on the national level, and that's the sexier thing to look at. But when you look at what is going to impact our lives more directly, I think it is the local elections, and it's the local level. And we've seen that here in, Montgomery County is one of the fastest growing counties in the country. And then you see, with growth comes a lot of you get all the different parties that come out. You've got the NIMBYs, right, who've lived in that county forever, and they don't want any more growth because the traffic's already terrible. And you've got all these different parties, and you've got a lot of politicians that are, many of which are well intentioned, right? They come out and they make decisions with what they think is going to be the best for their constituents. But they don't understand the unintended consequences of things such as road width requirements, paving thickness requirements, these little things that the changes they make. A lot of times they don't understand the economics, and you go, okay, well, you just drove my sales price up $25,000, and in a lot of cases, these municipalities will implement zoning or something where they will make it unaffordable for the people who run those cities, right? The backbone, the teachers, the policemen, the firemen, to even live there, and those folks will have to live outside and then come back in.
Yep. Well, what's interesting, and I think it was, oh my gosh, why can't I think of his name right now? Anyways, one of our representative here in Colorado for the Colorado Association of Home Builders, we talk a lot about how change happens from the very beginning. Like, most of the people that are in politics have no experience in home building at all. They're lawyers, doctors, teachers, everything but home building or construction, because we like being in the field, we like smelling the dirt, we like being part of the home building process. So we don't take the time to participate at that level and educate those people on what are some of the, like you said, the unintended consequences. They're trying to think of the best things for their communities, but not taking into account what are some of the things that are essential to understand when it comes to making those initiatives happen.
Yeah, and we just have to be more intentional with spending the time to kind of help educate them. I think it's the best way, right?
Yeah.
It's not coming at it from, we're not greedy builders and developers out there, trying to fleece the community. It's like, let me just explain to you how that works and what the impact is. And I think most of the time when you're able to do that, you have those aha moments and you're able to just consult. And I think otherwise what happens is these things get passed and then we all sit back and complain about them. And if we wait till that point, it's really hard to put the toothpaste back in the tube. Yeah.
Yep. I read an article earlier this year, and they were making some changes on the energy code, and somebody who is part of that committee was making a comment like, the builders and those people in real estate, they make enough money, they can absorb the cost. It's like, if you really understood how the process works, it isn't always the case.
No, and the energy code, that's a whole nother can of worms. I mean, you look at the national energy code, we have the same energy code along the Gulf Coast, right? This super moist climate down here on the Gulf as they have in Minnesota and Phoenix and everything else. And so, as builders, that's a whole nother challenge, right? Where we have to build to a code that just bakes in all kinds of issues that we have to deal with, moisture control in homes and all the rest of that.
Yeah, it's true. And then, I know that, and I did talk to Lake Colson earlier this year about, having the option for gas versus electric and how they're making decisions for the buyer. You can't have you can't have gas. You can only have electric. And what are the consequences of that? They don't understand. Like, if you don't have an alternative source of energy, what happens when the power goes out? You don't have any options. You can't run your refrigerator, can't run your furnace. And in places like Colorado or Minnesota, when it's freezing cold, what do you do when it's freezing cold and the electricity goes out, or where it's super hot and super humid in the summertime and you can't have air conditioning? It's very unfortunate. So I think it's, great ideas possibly, but not thinking through, like you said, what are the consequences across the entire country, and they're making decisions at a national level. So very interesting. All right. I think this is your favorite topic from the different posts that you place. But let's talk about leadership. You said that the wins that matter most rarely come easy or fast. What does tenacity look like in home building, and how do you build a culture that keeps showing up when others quit?
Yeah, so this goes back to having the passion, right? Or the disease, loving the disease of home building, as you said earlier. I was thinking about this question, and I love to, my wife and I have a motto, it's do hard things, right? And so we love to hike. We love Colorado in the summer, and we always pick a 14er, at least one, and we like to go up there and hike. And so, for those not aware of what that is, there's 53, I think, 14,000 foot peaks in Colorado that run the spine of the Rocky Mountain Range. And so you do those, and some are a little easier and some are tough. And it's one of those things that you train for, and you get into that thing, and it's really tough. I mean, some of those, it's 13, 14 hours of hiking potentially. Yeah. Air's thin. And so I think about those. You get to a point somewhere along the way, and you're 3, 4, 5 hours in, and you're like, what the heck am I doing? Why did I do this to myself? And you look ahead, you look up the mountain, and you see the summit. Maybe it's a false summit, and many times it is. Oh, right? Yeah. And it can be very discouraging. So sometimes you have to turn around. When you turn around and look and see how far you've come, and you're intentional about doing that, it's like, okay, I got it, right? And it re-energizes you and gives you the right mindset to carry on. But I think in business, I think that's important for us too, right? From a leadership standpoint, a lot of times we focus so much on the results that we forget about the people along the way too, the people that we're trying to lead and trying to grow. And so we've got to, I think, to me, grit is showing up every day. You have good days, you have bad days, but you're ready to go get after it every single day. But it's also realizing that what's the old adage, right? You can go farther, I guess, if you want to go. Oh gosh, I'm going to mess that up now. You'll go further with a team, right? Is the crux of it, and I think that's true. That you want to make sure that you're all going together, and that you're coaching and training and leading that right group of people to grow.
Right. What do you think gives the endurance to being a private builder over a national? Or as far as your leadership and the way that your organization is run, and some of the metrics and the goals that you set for your team?
It's much more common sense, I think, versus a lot of what you see on the nationals. It's we have goals, and we'll set some BHAGs, right? The big, hairy, audacious goals, and you look at them and go, man, I don't know how we're going to do that, but let's put our brains together and figure out, try to reverse engineer, right, what efforts you're going to have to get there. So we'll set goals like that. And I think that it's very, we're an EOS run organization. So we set rocks every quarter, and we reverse engineer kind of what we're trying to get at. And I think as a leadership team, it's very collaborative, and everyone kind of helps each other along towards achieving the overall goals. And so I think that is very different than what you find on the public space.
Yeah. Well, and your goals are probably set a little bit different. We talked about this a little bit earlier before we started, before we got onto the podcast. But one of the things that we talked about was that your focus is more towards profitability for the organization, not necessarily always volume. And talk to me a little bit about how that's different. Getting your team focused on only volume versus having your team focused on volume at a certain level of profit.
That's correct. And I'll tell you that all that begins, a lot of that discussion begins at the land or lot buy. So when we kind of evaluate new projects that we want to go into, you kind of look at it and go, okay, what are the terms? And with interest rates being what they are now, you think I've got to turn through this thing at a certain rate, or the lots will stack up on my balance sheet and it can eat me alive with carry. So some of that comes there, right? And so if the buy is made right on the front end and you don't have to run 1,000 miles an hour to chew through lots, that's the perfect scenario for a private. So you look at it and go, I've got the runway in front of me, but I've got some different levers I can pull. Maybe do I want to try to do 40 homes in this one community this year and make I don't know, whatever your profit margin is, or do I want to kind of slow it down a little bit, maximize my margin on there, and then what's my threshold? Can I do 20, 25 in there and be more profitable? And then I have better control, especially for privates when you may not have the wallet that a lot of the publics have to go out and buy land and lots. You really want to make sure that you don't run so fast through a project that you don't have the next one lined out and you gap out.
Yeah.
So I think there's some of those things the levers that you pull as a private, whereas as a public, we've seen it. There's been several projects where the land is bought right on the front end, and we've gone in with the public, and you see them just blow through their lots, and you go, man, the profit was in the lot buy. You could have made a whole lot more money had you just slowed down a little bit. And with that, it's not about greed either. I mean, our business requires a ton of cash, right? It's a very capital intensive business. And our team recognizes too, that when we get those wins get piled into the middle, and those wins get reinvested into new land and lot opportunities, which allow folks, it's just feeds the machine and feeds the potential growth and career advancement for our team members too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, here at Shinn, we recommend, 10 to 12% net profit. That's what, and if you look at our study from this last year, our average builder in 2024, we had some losses and we had some big wins. But the average profit across 82 builders was about 14.5%. And what that does is it helps you prepare for growth. It helps you maintain your organization through a really tough time like this. The beginning of 2026 might be very challenging, because of all the stuff from this last year, and starts slowed down, and you have the compression of all of the finished and unsold specs that are out there and having to get through that. So having that nice solid net profit is going to help you balance out the first half of the year and maintain your staff, keep all of the wheels running while your organization is getting geared up for the second half of 2026.
Yeah, it's very, very true.
All right. What are some other things that you would love to say about, or that you want to share about leadership and how that's helping you differentiate yourself in the marketplace, differentiate yourself with your trade partners, really creating this environment where you're a builder of choice, actually, because I feel like leadership is going to be that key threshold. If you as a leadership team aren't solid in what your beliefs are and sharing that core value all the way through your organization, you cannot be the builder of choice, truly.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of little, I'm trying to think of, there's not one big thing that we do. It's really a lot of little things that we do. Right. So we'll do a vendor appreciation event at least once a year, and we'll bring all those folks in. We recognize them with awards, for tenure and for the things they've done for us. So one piece of our differentiator is customer service. The other one is our philanthropy, especially on a local level. So we're fortunate enough to get to build the benefit home for the Greater Houston Builders Association this year. So, and I was amazed at how generous our vendor and trade partners were. Even in a challenging market, to step up and to donate their time and their efforts. And we were able to give back $280,000 to Home Aid and to Operation Finally Home through that donation. So, it's things like that the vendors are really proud to be, and our trade partners are really proud to be a part of too. But we have a lot of longstanding relationships. I mean, we like to bring in new blood from time to time, and we'll give some smaller vendors a chance. But by and large, most of our partners are just that. I mean, they've been with us since day one, and they'll continue to be with us just because they operate with a high level of integrity, and they're there to stand behind what they do, even beyond the warranty period.
That's amazing. Well, and I think about we have a Chick-fil-A that is local to us. So I'm going to compare you to Chick-fil-A. And I know it's very different. Chick-fil-A and, you make good chicken or you build good homes. But we have a Chick-fil-A that's just down the street from us. And we've been going to this Chick-fil-A since they built it. And I will drive past 3 or 4 Chick-fil-A's to go to this Chick-fil-A because of what you're talking about, because I was part of the PTO and the PTA, and I volunteer. I was one of those people that I volunteer for everything. So I volunteered to help out in the schools tremendously. And they were always one of the first organizations to be like, we'll do that. We'll help you. We'll bring the cow. We'll support this. We'll support that. And you're just like, how do you not? And then when we'd go in as guests, they would treat us so nice. And they were like, it was almost like they knew us personally. And so we would visit that Chick-fil-A over and over. And my kids still do. They'll be like, we want to go to Chick-fil-A. And this Chick-fil-A owner happens to own 2 Chick-fil-A's. So we'll go to either one, but we won't go to any other Chick-fil-A.
Everybody that starts with us gets to read the book Raving Fans. And so that's a book that we've tried to build foundationally on everything on, right? Everybody talks about it, setting the right expectations, delivering +1, and that everybody's your customer, not just the people buying homes from us. It's the vendors, it's the trade partners, it's the realtor community, it's everybody. They're our customers, and we need to take great care of them. To your point, though, it doesn't take a whole lot to separate yourself, because we're all so used to getting such poor service across the board. I think of Ace Hardware is one too. I mean, that's a small mom and pop place, and you go to Lowe's or Home Depot, and it's like, good luck getting help with anything. But you walk into an Ace, and you can hand them, the funkiest metric screw and say, I don't even know what this is, but I need 10 of them plus the bolts for them, and they'll go find it for you.
Yep. Yeah, it's very true. Sometimes we get stuck looking in our own industry, and it takes stepping outside of our industry to see, how am I being served in a place that I enjoy going to? And why, we have a steak place here called Shanahan's. It's a high-end steak place, and we go every once in a while. And every time we have a builder group here in Denver, I find a way to go to Shanahan's, because the service, and anytime anybody asks me, what's the steak place I should go to in Denver? And I'm like, Shanahan's. And hands down, I will always recommend them, because when we go in, they treat us so well. The food is always spectacular. And, one time I was like, oh, I can't stay. I have to go back, because I met my parents and a client that was here for dinner. And I was like, I can only come for a little bit. And I go, but I love the bread. And so the server, because they have really good crusty bread with whipped butter and sea salt on top. So good. And the server brought me out a to-go bag with a loaf of bread and some containers of the salty bread. And I didn't specifically ask for that. I just told him, I'm so bummed I'm not going to be able to stay for the bread. He's like, here you go. And he sent me home with my to-go dinner and some bread and salted butter. And I was like, amazing. Amazing.
That's value, right? I mean, that's value over price right there. And it's not a tough concept. We overcomplicate things a lot of times as humans, and you go, man, I just need to be just be a little bit better and more focused on the customer than the next guy is. And I'll earn the business. People will pay more for that. Yes.
They'll pay more for you to take care of them. They'll pay more for you to show them that you have good quality service. They pay more for you when they know that when the house closes, they're not going to have to be banging their head against the wall to get things fixed. They know that it's going to be right the first time. And if there is something, you're going to be in there to take care of it. And I love the fact that you'll take care of your customers even after. If they come to you and they have an issue or a problem, that they feel comfortable enough to come talk to you guys. I think that's fantastic.
We take it a step further too. I mean, we're far from perfect, but we won't close homes with open items. And so it's sometimes it's painful, but you tell our customers even, well, I need to be in the house. You're like, well, this is This is the difference in a short-term and a long-term decision. In the short term, you say you want that, right? And it would be the path of least resistance just to go ahead and close you.
Mm-hmm.
But from a long-term standpoint, then we're having to work around their schedule and inconvenience the customer. And then, well, I saw that, but then there's this too, and I saw this over here, and it's just it creates a lesser experience. So we want to make sure that one, the house is completely done before we do any buyer walks. Our internal QA guys have signed off on that thing, and it's ready to go, because it's a lesser than experience that the way most builders do it, where the buyer walks a house and there's painters, sheetrockers, cleaners, all working in this house. It shouldn't be that way. Yep. It absolutely shouldn't be that way.
Yep, absolutely. Well, let's move on real quick, because we only have a few more minutes left, but I do want to talk about systems and support. You've said grit without structure leads to burnout. Why isn't grit enough in today's market, and what systems make the biggest difference for builders under pressure?
So I was thinking about this, and I think a lot of this starts at the very beginning. And so over the years, we've kind of learned that as we've grown and scaled, what you find is that you'll have somebody that you kind of, it sound terrible to say, but you outgrow that person, or you put them in the wrong seat where it's not what their highest and best. And it leads to a lot of frustrations and that kind of thing. I was told a visual one time that we were promoting people, we're shoving them up a ladder, and we're burning the rungs beneath them, even though they may think they want to go into that next role, but they may not like it when they get there. So for us, it starts in the very beginning, right? We try to be very disciplined with our, we'll disc test applicants coming in. We want to know just their personality style, how they communicate. And then we do the Burke test, and we do the Wonderlic. And so for us, that just tells us, long-term, it tells us aptitude. It tells us kind of what their skill sets are and how they communicate. So we understand that person. Mm-hmm. And so for that case, then who is your core? Who are the people that are going to be great support for the organization, and who are the people who are going to be able to really grow and really run long-term. And so once you can kind of determine that, you can really pour into the folks that you think have the ability to really grow. So I think one thing that's important is just on the front end, just knowing your people, how they communicate best, what their aptitude is, what's their seat on the bus, I guess, as Jim Collins would say.
Yeah.
So that's probably where it all starts as you try to scale. And then beyond that, it's just consistently managing the behaviors, right? Mm-hmm. I've been a stickler forever. I want to know that it's Monday afternoon at 4:00, because my production report hits my inbox, my warranty report hits my inbox, my variance report hits my inbox, and you just know it's just consistent and just managing to those metrics, and knowing that if you get off course a little bit, then it's okay. Let's, in EOS terms, let's IDS this, and let's have a discussion and figure out what's going on and how we can get it back on track. And so we even have gone so far on the sales side. Sales gets a little more challenging. It can, because production or construction is pretty cut and dry, right?
Yes.
Once you track, but on the sales side, there's some more nuance. And so for us, we've started tracking effort, right? And effort means how many connected calls have you made in a day, how many appointments have you set, and then down to what's your conversion rate. Yep. And we don't do that because we're trying. It's a gotcha. And we look at it as, a lot of times on the sales management, you try to go in with a one size fits all approach. Let's train everybody on phones today. Let's train everybody on this. Whereas if you really look at what the numbers are telling you, maybe it's, Bob needs some coaching on how to be more effective on the phone to generate appointments, or maybe it's, John, when somebody gets out to the model, he needs to work on his presentation. And so it can really change things on the sales side and allow you to give folks the tools they need to win.
Yep. No, I think that's really good. And it's funny. I think of that, as a coach watching my kids all were in sports, and some coaches were really good and some coaches were really bad. And the coaches that were really good were the ones who knew each of their individual players and what motivated them and where their strengths were and where their weaknesses were, and how to coach to that. My kid, he was like, when he was in middle school, he'd be like, I can't breathe. And he just wanted attention. It was just an attention getting thing. 12 and 13-year-old boys, they just want attention. And every coach that he had before this one would be like, whatever. And they just kind of ignore him. And this one coach, he was really young. He goes, well, Charlie, do you want to come off the court? And he goes, no. All right, then keep playing. He just wanted somebody to acknowledge the fact that he was having a hard time breathing.
Yes.
And that's it. And so as soon as somebody said, well, take a breath, you'll be fine, keep playing, he's like, all right, I got it. He never struggled again. It was amazing. But just the nuance of understanding that kid just wanted a little bit of attention, wanted somebody to recognize he was challenged and give him the motivation to continue. It was a game changer for him. He played differently from that point forward. So I think that's fantastic what you're doing.
And one more piece to that too, I'd say that I would challenge leaders, people in leadership roles too, to take kind of stock of your day and your week, and what daily activities or weekly activities really drain your battery versus charge your battery. And so we're all different, right? We all have things we enjoy and things we don't. And so I would challenge you to say that if there's something in there that really drains your battery, then figure out a way to shift that off your plate if at all possible. Potentially you're in the wrong seat if that's your main role and drains your battery. But aside from that, it's like, man, it's focus on the stuff that really energizes you. And then I think from a long-term standpoint, you'll be less prone to burnout or that type of thing. That's
amazing. That's great. That's great advice. Well, is there anything else? Oh wait, if a breaker here's my last question. If a builder wants to break out of the rut and stand apart, what's the first step you'd recommend? And what's the one metric or one mind shift that every builder should implement this quarter?
To break apart, to break out, I guess, from the pack, just to kind of look at what everybody else is doing and go to the balcony, as they say, and kind of figure out what's one or two things you can do different from a product standpoint that can get you value. I mean, one thing, if you think about this, right, we're all focused on countertops and all the rest of this stuff, but we're in Texas, right? Most people drive pickup trucks, and you can't fit a truck into a garage, whether it's an $800,000 production home or whether it's a $150,000 home. The garage is the same size, and so you think about little things like that. And as a builder, you kind of, if you're able to take a step back and stop trying to compete at everybody else's game, there's a few things you can do that I think you can really generate some value with.
That's awesome. That's a very good point. And how simple is that?
Well, there's cost, but it's an investment, right? If you tell somebody, hey, I know you're going to be looking at 10 homes today. Let's see if you can fit your F-150 into the garage of any of them. You come park into mine first, and then from there, let me know how that goes the rest of the day.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
not that any of us do that though. All of us just fill our garages with junk, but being able to do that is nice.
Well, I know for here in Colorado, not being able to park your car in the garage is a big deal, especially if you're north facing, because then it's always icy. But yes, it's a big deal. Those little things. But that's also knowing your customer. That's knowing who's buying your home and what they're looking for and what they're willing to pay for plus your margin. Are they willing to pay for it plus your margin? That's where you know that you've added value. If they're not willing to pay for it with your margin, there's not value there. But if they're willing to pay for it plus your margin, there's value. And I would imagine being able to put your F-150 truck into the garage, particularly in colder markets, that's a big deal.
Yeah, and that's just one thing top of mind, right? There's probably a dozen others if you really put some thought into your frustrations with your own home and things you wish you could do different.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Dave, I appreciate it. We went a little bit long, but the conversation was very pleasant. And I felt like we were just sitting in a coffee shop having a good conversation, sharing meeting of the minds. And I hope all of you who were with us today or, listening to the recording enjoyed this as well. So thank you so much. I look forward to other conversations, and remember to follow Dave. He's got lots of good stuff to share. So thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you all on one of our other Builder of Choice Insights. Thanks for watching or listening. Give us a like and leave a comment. And if you thought of somebody, be sure to send them a link so they can listen too. As always, we'd love to hear your feedback. Is there a specific topic or special guest that you want to hear about? Let us know. Did you like what you heard? Then I've got great news for you. You can listen to this episode along with many more at Builder of Choice Insights, where I talk with industry experts on crucial concepts that help builders become the builder of choice. If you don't want to miss this next episode, then be sure to turn on your notifications, hit that like button, and subscribe.